Welcome back into the arena. Welcome back on twitch.tv. We are just about ready for your final bout of the evening. And this is for all the marbles. This is for a berth in the championship game, which is next month. Next month is our next bout. And that is the championship bout, as we mentioned. We're about ready to get underway. We're going to bring you the rosters. We are not doing a full rollout for this bout since we have already met these skaters. The rosters are unchanged for these two teams, we found out, but we will go ahead and read down these rosters right now. Skating once again for the Doomsday Valkyries, number 5, Motion Sickness, number 25, Nightmare, number 34, Sandra Slay O'Connor, number 38, Cherry Kiss, number 070, Invader Slim, number 98, Blair Bitch, number 101, Hurricane May, number 131, Muerta, number 401, Autumnus Prime, number 626, Remy Ruckus, number 669, Nikki Badass, number 816, Kansas City, number 925, Evil Twin doing Yo Skaters work tonight, skating once again for the Valkyries, co-captain of the Valkyries, number 007, Clutch Cannon, and your captain, number 22, Mimi Mahler. Once again, your coaches, Infidel Castro and NC Jammer. For the Coffin Draggers, who you just saw, once again, number 10, Sasquatch, number 13, Hugs and Stitches, number 23, Murder Mittens, number 30, Zora la Bruja, number 94, Angel of Beth, number 96, All of You Die, number 300, Dolly Spartan, number 333, Bedbugs Bunny, number 414, Foxy Razordine, number 666, Strange, number 710, Mo Fasta, number 1312, Rickety Bones, number 7780, Pee Wee Vermin, number 8, number boss, Frankenherder, number 18, your co-captain, Embezzlement, number 616, your captain, Antifa, your coaches, Gare Bear, and the Panda Face Killer. Countdown clock counting down. So happy to see all the fans still here for our two teams here in the tournament. As we said, once again, Runaway Brides are on the bye this month and waiting in the championship game for one of these two teams. Valkyries have switched over to their orange alternate uniforms. Coffin Draggers, they've just got that one set, and it's pretty iconic amongst the league. Everybody loves that ooky green Coffin Draggers color. 10 seconds left on the bout clock. I am excited.
Me too. It's a whirlwind. This has been a great first two bouts so far.
Yep. And we know we're guaranteed of having a new team in the championship bout to go against the Brides.
Yes.
This would be the third. Let's see. We know that the last two championship bout contenders are out of the playoffs. So neither of these teams have fought for a championship. I believe since the end of COVID. So exciting to see. One of these teams gets to go to the finals. Your first jam is All of You Die versus Hurricane May. You're going to see both of them a whole lot.
Yes. Some of the most agile jammers that we currently have in the league play for these two teams. So we're going to see lots of jukes and jumps and all kinds of fancy footwork from the Dragger and Valkyrie primary jammers. May working against that two wall of Draggers in the back. Olive working against Mimi and Muerta right there in the middle.
Hurricane
Neither jammer out yet. Stashed.
Yeah, May's got
both
panties
stashed.
At the back of the pack. They do. So let's see who's got the star for the Coffin Draggers. They are playing a little games personship down there.
For sure. Very slow and deliberate right now. Defense not making any sudden movements. No overcommitments just yet. Just some nice small lateral movements, making sure the jammer doesn't escape. Pack is up currently.
Clock's going to expire on this one, so we'll start this bout with no score, in fact. Hey, we wanted to mention, first of all, we got a raffle prize to give away, but also those, the Lost Dutchman tattoo, the Raya Riot tattoo, and the final gift that are down there are all silent auction gifts, not raffle prizes. Apologize for that. We probably had some people going down there thinking they were going to put their raffle prizes in there. However, those are silent auction items. We're trying to drum up some support for those silent auctions for those 3 big ticket prizes. So Now back to the game. This is our second jam. That's Strange for the Draggers.
And that is Motion Sickness in the back there, stashing that star currently, working against Pee-wee and Stitches in the back, that power couple Draggers in the back. Strange is working against those 3 Valkyrie blockers in the front, trying to push them to the edge of the engagement zone, but all of a sudden the pack does collapse. They have M up there, so currently the pack is up. Strange takes a tumble right there between turns 3 and 4. There is a successful star pass to Mimi Mahler here, and coming around, able to zip right around. What a very nice pirouette around Stitches there.
With very
little coping room, but she is successful coming around on scoring pass. Dragger's running a little bit of accordion there, trying to keep a nice 3-wall for Mimi to come up to. Mimi's working against M in the back, looking for some friendly shoulders. Power couple of Pee-wee and Stitches, not passing the front. Let's see how many Mimi is awarded.
You know, I was watching that, and I saw Mimi do that move, and it reminded me of something, and it took me a moment until you were talking again. That was a defensive lineman spinning on an offensive lineman. Mimi went to and then just spun around and came right back around. Is what it looked just like, was a defensive lineman putting an O lineman in the spin cycle.
So in that situation right there on the coping, there is like a pretty well-timed like contact that you have to make with that blocker to end up not actually spitting them right out in front of you yourself.
Right.
So Mimi was able to take advantage of Stitch's timing just being just a tiny bit off. Fantastic.
Yeah, so we ended up with a jammer penalty, though, for the Valkyries. This is a power jam early on for the Coffin Draggers, who are still looking to get on the board here in the early going. Excellent defense at the front of the pack so far.
Active recycling by Cherry and Nikki Badass to kill a little bit more time off of that clock.
Yeah,
Dolly coming around lead, though.
Cherry was momentarily out of play and just had to let Dolly go, who's now coming in, now finishes off a scoring pass. So
the pack was split there. I was interested to see the Draggers did wait for Muerta to get on. They're just as responsible for making the pack, though, so we want to see that pack collapse when you hear those split pack calls from the regulators. Dolly looking for a inside lane there, and Cherry denies that.
8 seconds left on the power jam clock. Valkyrie's defense still up there. Skater took a hard fall. I believe that was Nikki down there in the front of the pack. And the clock will expire on that Coffin Draggers power jam. We'll wait for the score from the infield. Hey, speaking of the Coffin Draggers, get those raffle tickets ready. This is the raffle ticket for the Ghoul Goodie Bag, the Coffin Draggers Goodie Bag. Your winner for that is 586759. 586759 for the Coffin Dragger fan in the audience. I hear a whistle, so we'll wait for a official signal. Once again, if you won, don't come over here. Thank you. If you won, go to the opposite corner of the arena. We've had a timeout. That is a team timeout here in the very early going.
Yes, go see Jasmanian Devil and D&D's Nuts at the silent auction table.
So during this Valkyries team timeout, we will let you know again, don't forget about our regulators on the track. If you're interested in being part of this roller derby community, but hitting people isn't really all your thing, our regulators are always looking for able-bodied persons to help us out with the goings-on here at the arena. There are skating rolls, which you can learn, but there are also things on the infield, penalty tracking, whiteboard management, things along those lines that are just as important and help us keep the bout going. So plenty of rolls for you if you cannot roller skate. That is our regulators. Ask anybody wearing stripes or anybody wearing skate gear if you're interested in joining our regulator team.
Looks like we're about to be underway here. Looks like lineups have been called and plans are probably being made in both respective team boxes. Looks like one penalty for the Draggers, and the Valkyries appear to be full. Cherry Kiss on the jammer line for DV. And
pretty impressive to skate a power jam and wind up with no penalties. That's good defense.
And Bugs on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers. DV went ahead and took that back line. It didn't appear that the Coffin Draggers wanted it, or maybe couldn't handle it because they're sitting for a penalty. So with that one player less, it does make a really big difference in the kind of strategies that you can play. Cherry unsuccessfully takes the coping because Bugs just happened to be there. A nice high sweep attempted there from May. A temporary strike coming up again. Working against Stitches. Pee-wee and M also in the front, cadre of blockers from the Coffin Draggers in the front. Still working to get out, working on one blocker. Cherry's coming around lead.
Yeah, excellent work by Hurricane May with the pivot stripe on there, bouncing back and forth and just kind of being like the ball in the paint can, just kind of getting in there and agitating the pack. Letting Cherry get out. Meanwhile, Stitches tried to take off. Hey, we have, I think, the youngest fan to ever win a raffle prize. Oh, here, I believe that no, cool goodie bag. Okay, no, there's nothing in that. That's right. Sorry. What the gift certificate for the REI was clipped to the bag, and they couldn't find it, and it was under the tag. Anyway, yeah, no, a very young fan just won the raffle prize for the Ghoul goodie bag. That's so cool. She's like 7 years old, so good for her.
Yeah, that's going to be the
young
custom.
Coffin Draggers
You can put your stickers and your patches and all stuff on your school bag.
That's right. How cool is that going to
All
be?
right, Murder Minton's coming around, going ahead and not wasting any time, putting that panty on in the straightaway. Smart, played like a 13-year vet, coming around, actively skating. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of collision there in the second straightaway. Both players appear to be okay. Working against a 2-all of DV right here in turn 3. Again, neutralized to the infield, takes the track again. Motion Sickness looking for a little bit of offensive help from her teammates, their teammates, before still trying to work to the front. Mimi trying to clear that last point. Let's see what the points were.
Yeah, the Valkyries had put 10 points on the board while we were giving away that raffle prize and jumped in front here in the early going. Absolutely a defensive struggle. We are watching the action. I heard that's your jammer, and that is going to be a power jam for the Valkyries here in the early going. I have no points for either side on that jam, but at the moment,
looks like there's going to be a little bit of an OTO right here.
What kind of timeout is it? It's an official timeout, so regulator's going to talk that over, make sure we got everything all set for this next jam. It was a 3-point jam for the Draggers. There we are.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so 13-12, 8 minutes gone. We're almost halfway through the first half, and neither team has broken 15 points yet, so defensive slugfest once again.
You know me, I'm just up here smiling.
That is right. Hey, the minor assaults, Al. Let's talk about the minor assaults. The minor assaults are our skating program for 10 to 17-year-olds, which most bank track leagues, flat track leagues have minor programs. You should always support your league's minors program because it teaches more than just skating skills. It is a great way. We'll talk about this more at the next natural break because Al's one of our minor assaults coaches. But so many of our skaters have come through the minor assaults program, and to a person, they always talk about how, I've talked with Night Mary at length about how Mary says how the minor assaults program really helped her become comfortable as a person, and we hear that so often from our skaters that are in that
life skills.
program.
We're getting some life skills in there.
Yeah, and really you just need to know how to skate. There's no tryouts. You just let us know you're interested. They work in new minors all the time. That's really the minor assaults. We would love to tell you more about that. Ask us about it at any break in the action. Valkyries Power Jam is what we are facing. As we said, that is Cherry Kiss for the Valkyries, who currently have a 1-point lead.
So, as you all saw, exiting the pack during a power jam for your own team before turn 1 is ideal. That means you have probably somewhere between 45 and 55 seconds left, all of which should be scoring at that point. So the sooner you get out on that initial pass through the pack, the more time's left on the clock for you to run up that score. Remember, we're looking for 10 points or more on a successfully skated power jam. Cherry Kiss is coming around on scoring pass number 2. Valkyries offense successfully breaking up that back wall of Draggers. We'll see how many hips Cherry is able to pass. Takes a little bit of a whip. Pass. Originally past Stitches. Stitches able to pirouette around and get back in front.
Yeah, it's been really both teams here. I feel like both of these teams really, we said how similar those first 2 bouts were, and now they've come out here, and this again, it's a 10-point power jam, so successful. Obviously Stitches and Cherry knew that hence that little stare down at the end. So But yeah,
yeah,
obviously,
Stitch's point was already scored in that situation.
Right.
Just wanted to prevent, just in case Cherry got a wild hair and wanted to try to come around for more points.
But yeah, obviously you've seen there, that was the biggest, the Valkyries have had 2 10-point jams and then a 3-point jam, and that's been it. So this Dragger's defense is really doing well on the power jams so far to keep that damage to a minimum.
Cherry and Nightmare working against Strange there in the front, trying to keep the all offense out, trying to repel offense. DV lead coming around is Evil Twin. Strange coming around, not lead. Again, Strange, unfortunately takes a tumble there between turn 1 and 2, but is back up. Nice quick recovery. That does give Twin a little bit more of a cushion, coming around, actively scoring in the second straightaway. Offense should be actively happening. Mary working on that 3 wall of Draggers, trying to see how many more points we can eke out right here at the end. Unfortunately, unsuccessful at maybe neutralizing all points from Ever, but Strange not giving up there, really working hard to see if any points were going to be available for them, and they might have been successful. Let's see.
Strange gets all 4 points, as a matter of fact. So Strange picking up 4 points on the pursuit. Always skate through the whistle, kids. Always skate through the whistle.
And that goes ahead and ends up being a winning jam. A winning jam for the
taking a
Draggers.
tumble and still getting up to come back on the pursuit. So there you go. Muerta is at the jammer line for the Doomsday Valkyries.
And that is Dolly Spartan for the Draggers. Muerta successfully neutralizing Dolly herself. Tries a little bit of tiptoe move right there at the end of the first straightaway. Defensive tripod from Olive, Stitches, and Murder Mittens up there in the front. Dolly able to squeak out in the apex between 1 and 2, coming around lead jam. Muerta thought about a stash, does stash, actively working against recycling Dragger's defense. Looking for some friendly shoulders there. Dolly is hoping to not come up to an orange wall. That is the hardest place on the track to stand up, right there between turns 3 and 4. Once you're down on a knee pad, really difficult to stay on your feet, much less get up from. Jam comes to its natural conclusion.
One of the two, I was listening, there are penalties raining in.
So again, you are going to see a little bit of a impact on the kind of strategy that can be played. Looks like there's been enough shifting around and penalties being called to result in a Doomsday Valkyrie power jam.
That is
May up on the
indeed.
jammer line there.
Well, now we have a challenge, so the Draggers have thrown their challenge flag. So the Draggers, I'm sure, are going to be challenged that jammer penalty, so we'll check on that momentarily. 26-20 right now. Tightly contested bout here in the early going. 4:05 to go until halftime of this half-length bout.
For sure. This is definitely the bout we expected to see with how the first 2 went this evening.
And don't forget that you foul out on 4 penalties, and I heard a whole lot of penalties raining in there. We'll have to check the board once they're not even done yet.
Right, and we don't have huge rosters right now, so every person that you have actively available for your lineup callers absolutely does matter. If you don't spend a lot of time with us and you don't watch a lot of Bank Track Roller Derby, you have probably started to see the impact of just 1 penalty on the strategy that the team's able to actually execute. So it does absolutely matter, and you're up against maybe if you're the kind of a player that tends to sit on 3, 4, 5 penalties and able to make it through a whole 2-hour game, it's going to be a little tight for you today.
Absolutely. So the challenge continuing. We'll let you know again, we wanted to thank our medics down there on the infield. That is Doc and that is Morning Madness. Once again, our volunteer medics help us stay legal. They help us, not only springing into action when somebody is injured, but definitely we need them down there to have a bout. It's a contact sport. So if you are a trained medic, first responder, anything along those lines, or if you know somebody who might like to help us out by sitting down on the infield, we always say we hope they just sit down there for 4 hours and watch a bunch of great roller derby. But if not, we hope that they're called into action. So we are waiting for the teams to have the results of the challenge announced, and we'll bring that to you. But yeah, volunteer medics, like we said, point them our way. We really, I love to say that I announce because I get in for free, and then I get to watch roller derby. So the announcing is incidental. The free admission is what I'm here for. No,
I'm a season ticket holder, so I technically paid to be here.
All right, so the challenge, everybody's nodding. That means we're all good. Unsuccessful challenge. We had an illegal call-off on the Coffin Dragger's jammer, who only signaled to call off with one hand and did not get the other hand into the call-off motion, is what was explained to us.
So in those situations, when the whistle is blown by the jam ref, the penalty is still assessed.
All right, so as we said, very small pack, very small pack. There are only 2 blockers out there for the Valkyries. Hurricane May is your jammer. The Draggers have 3 blockers. So I'm going to say that the vast majority of those penalties must have been hoovered up by the Valkyries down there in the infield.
Right, and they're going to be trying to get into points protect as soon as possible. Since they do have a player advantage, they might start with a little bit of defense. Unable to recycle together, but still had a 2-wall, able to get all the way up to the front. Nikki on that last little offensive strike, pushing Murdermans to the edge of the engagement zone, coming around lead jam.
So the 2 blockers for the Valkyries are they tried to do what they could to keep the Draggers separated, but now we're going to try to run the accordion.
Yep, actively running the accordion here, so it's a way to keep sped up, but also make sure that disruption is happening for their jammers coming through the pack. Very successful lateral movement there in turn 2 from Hurricane May. Coming around 20 seconds left of this jam for additional scoring passes. Very well timed again for this power jam, trying to get a little bit more of a lead.
May tries the coping jump.
Yes.
And I remember one time May trying a coping jump on Al Annihilate Ya, and Al knocked May squarely out of the air, and then came by me, and one of my favorite roller derby memories is Al knocked May out of the air right here coming into turn 3, and then skated by and gave us the stink eye. And I was like, hey, we're just the announcers. But yeah, Al was feeling it so hard, was just like, I'm just going to mean mug somebody. And it's the announcers because they're close by.
I don't know. That's not how I remember it happening. We did, however, win the award for best hit.
This is true.
At Roller Brawl that year.
Roller Brawl. But yeah, I just remember Al coming around just giving us this glower, and I was like, oh no, yes, you go get that. You go get that glower. You earned that one.
I tend to play a little bit angry.
We have a timeout. This is an official timeout. The Valkyries put 9 points on the board during that power jam, so the Draggers able to run some defense, though being down 1 blocker. So I would say that's pretty well a push. I would say that's a good effort by those 2 Valkyries defenders, able to get May clear a couple of times.
Right, and that's just case in point. If you had a power jam with the Valkyries fully staffed up there, the likelihood that power jam would have been more successful goes up. So the fewer players you have out there to execute your strategy, you will see some impact to how much scoring is done. Yeah. All right, it looks like they are discussing it. We got helmets going back on, people taking their positions.
We got Mama Seidel, your head ref, is now going to discuss something with the coaches. So, as usually are things that we aren't privy to up here. So something along the lines of game management. So if it involves us, we'll find out. I don't know. I'm just up here talking. What do I know? Our next bout, by the way, that is going to be
Champs. Let's go.
Yeah, that's right. I want to quote the date. It's the first Saturday of May. I just want to make sure I get the actual day number correct. And Clofton's phone is a Galaxy S8, and it takes a while to unlock. I closed it in my car door the other day, still not replacing it. Look at that thing. Look at the bottom.
It's cracked. You've gotten all the use out of it.
Nobody would ever steal this thing. I could leave this thing sitting in the grocery store for 2 hours, and everybody would assume it didn't work, let alone not steal it. That is going to be May 3rd is the next bout, championship bout. Saturday, May 3rd, 5 p.m. for a single header for all the marbles. Runaway Brides versus Question mark.
The winner of this bout right here. So looks like is that Bugs right there on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
And
we
that
have
is motion sickness.
Yeah.
So we got Sick and Bugs.
Motion sickness is neutralized to the infield by embezzlement right there at the end of the first straightaway.
Yeah, and
a little bit of contact happening.
We had the star passed ahead to Stitches, who was almost clear, and a great block by one of those Valkyries down there. Clipped Stitches and really knocked her off stride.
Yeah, that was Mimi Mahler taking Stitches to the infield right there in turn 3.
Huge block.
Really, what was the difference in making sure that motion sickness got out lead? A nice high sweep there by Slim. And some offense, again, being played. driving some opponents to the rail, trying to get them out of motion sickness's way. Bugs does a little dive bomb hit, successful at neutralizing motion sickness to the infield, gets back on the track in turn 2, and coming up through the second straightaway, lead jam and actively scoring.
Yeah, weaving through, trying to get those points, and the clock just glanced over as the clock hit zeros.
Right there at the end, able to finish that scoring pass. Let's see how many they're awarded.
Motion sickness visibly winded heading back to the bench. That'll take the starch out of your sails trying to fight through the Draggers defense. And right to the penalty box goes motion sickness. Motion sickness. It is a fortuitous power jam now for the Coffin Draggers. They just gave up another 5-point jam, so right now the score 40-20, but the Draggers are going to look for some points here. All of you die.
Jaeger says 15 points easy from the middle bleacher there. Adamant that they want at least 15 points. I don't. I want 0. I like those 0-point power jams.
Well, Jaeger just likes Olive. That's
true.
That's also
That's true.
Now Olive is going to get try to fight by the high side, goes down the inside. Good block by Cherry along the inside there to knock Olive to the infield. But those blockers finally
called out of play.
Out of play.
Out of play.
Out of play, just out of play. They've got one Valkyrie goaded at the back. That's Nikki, and Nikki's driving the wall forward through sheer willpower.
Yeah, the pack has come all the way back together there. A nice little cute pirouette by Olive there to get out on another scoring pass. 27 seconds left.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those momentum swings that we were talking about.
And there will be another jam before halftime, too. So we do
100%. We have enough time for one more jam. A valiant effort from the 2-ball in the front. Neutralize that offensive striker. We got May and we have Cherry Kiss. Nice power couple action there in the front. A little bit of extra help right there from Dolly Spartan. The pack is going to be
excellent defense on the front of that pack.
Yeah, it was fantastic power couple action here in the front. Absolutely responsible for one less scoring pass with the work that they did from the end of the straightaway through turn 4.
All right, so ends up being a 10-point power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Cuts that lead in half, and as we said, one more jam here in the first half, even though quarter clock has hit zeros.
And we have Muerta on the jammer line for DV, and that looks like Strange for the Coffin Draggers. Some late penalties being dropped, and the adjustment was made by DV. So Strange is coming in with one fewer DV blocker to have to worry about. Muerta jumping, juking, driving all around, trying to get out. Has to come to the back of the pack, neutralize there. Wants to make sure she's not assessed that cutting penalty. Strange is coming around, actively scoring here on the low.
The more you watch roller derby, the more it looks like football. And I've been watching roller derby for 9 years now. But what was amazing there, as we had a star pass again, so both teams have star passed. What was amazing there was right off the gun, Murder Mittens, number 23 for the Draggers, went right up and locked up with Mimi Mahler, the pivot for the Valkyries, but then spun off and basically broke free like a tight end coming off a block on, and then just kind of went out into the flat, and Strange got that star right around Mimi, and there went Murder Mittens. So
you have to
really, like I said, watch. Look in there close and just pick a skater to watch sometime and just watch what they do, because that was an amazing play.
It is very similar to most other contact sports where offense and defense are being played at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, football, it's like I say, football, hockey, it's some of the set pieces can be a little like hockey when they're attacking, but I really, like I said, I view it as football on skates, lacking the ball. So that is a 9-point jam for the Draggers to take us into halftime, and just like that, it was 40-20. Now it's 40-39. So the Valkyries are up by 1 point as we go into the Hey, we got a wave going on down there in the audience. Nicely done. And the bombshells are Jaeger's standing up and angrily yelling something, so there we go.
Oh, that was close.
I get it. Jaeger was angrily telling the end of the wave to keep it going.
It got all the way to turn 1. We have some work to do.
All right, 40-39 Valkyries. Valkyries power jam.
Hurricane May coming
out
and is out. Lead jam at the end of the straightaway.
Valkyries,
remember, we want 10 points or more.
Valkyries have a full pack of blockers. Draggers have 3, so only down 1.
maybe working on that goading strategy in the back. Mimi goes ahead and waits on M to keep the pack stretched thin. Stitch is successful at neutralizing May to the infield here in turn 3. May back up, though, working actively against the Dragger blockers that are left over. Neutralized again to the infield by Stitches, working with a power couple, her and M at the front. May takes a little bit of a coping jump in the 1-2 apex, is coming around again for another scoring pass with 16 seconds left in the jam.
They've got Stitches goaded at the back now, and now going to play defense is Stitches. May is going to right to the front, and with an escort from Huerta, gets right by Zora La Bruja.
Goes ahead and lets the jam clock expire with just that 1 second left.
Yeah.
I think she had about 1 second left. And with, the 1 point advantage, went ahead and let the jam expire.
Yep, there we go. So another 10-point power jam for the Valkyries. So another just hacking away at it. Cherry Kiss at the jammer line. Well behind the jammer line for the Valkyries. And that is Bedbugs Bunny once again for the Coffin Draggers.
Helmet panty stash immediately. A little bit of a trip clips spill right there. Pee-wee and Foxy in the back, which I think made the defense a little bit easier to get around by Cherry, coming around on her first scoring pass.
Bugs is up to the front of the pack and is doing battle with Invader Slim and Nightmare. Kansas City there to provide assurance. Here comes Pee-wee Vermin trying to spring.
Yep, a little bit of offense there from Pee-wee in turn 3.
The Coffin Draggers are really excelling at, if they're not so much keeping the Valkyries jammer in at first, but really at preventing an easy scoring pass and certainly any second attempts at them in regular strength jams.
Correct. So the DV right now, they're actively working and putting more work into the defense, making sure that the Draggers don't get out, more so than allocating resources to Cherry there in the back offensively.
And that really speaks to like the coaching aspect of Derby in general. And you obviously as a coach and player, splitting your time between the two. It really speaks to them obviously focusing on saying, okay, we're having trouble with their defense. Let's just try to lock down defense.
100%. So we were talking with 12 minutes or so left. There's no reason why clock management can't start now, especially with DV already winning currently. So you're going to see strategy being carried out depending on who's winning at any given time and how many players they have out there.
All right, so the Doomsday Valkyries call their second half team timeout. You get one per half here in this half-length bout. So, going to talk it over. I had seen Evil Twin heading off the track, and I see a Valkyrie in the penalty box. I think that's Nightmare from here, so that would not be a jammer. So I think Twin was just anticipating the timeout. So we'll find out. Obviously, Valkyrie's going to talk this one over. Here comes Mama Seidel, so I'm going to get off the horn for a second because that means something official's about to happen. One sec. All right, scoreboard correction. You only get, we were just talking about timeouts and whatnot, but yeah, you only get one challenge per game, and the Draggers lost their challenge, so the Draggers do not have a challenge in the second half. Put that in your hip pocket. That could be a thing. You never know. So, team timeout continuing very briefly down here.
So, really quick on the $50 of skincare from Siphon Draw, 586-841. 586-841.
Yeah, we will give that away after this jam if nobody claims that. That is the Siphon Draw. Of course, I mean, you know, it's if that was you, we'll get it figured out. Meanwhile, that's Hurricane May and Dolly Spartan. Dolly Spartan for the Draggers, May, of course, for the Valkyries, and May
really successful at penetrating that 2-wall of some very strong blockers in Stitches and Murder Mittens coming around lead jam.
Stitches has been prowling the front of the pack for the Draggers and now takes over, gets another good star pass. May tries to weave around. That was Murder Mittens. And gets up and calls it off mid-pack, facing Dolly Spartan at the front of the pack, since Stitches had gotten clear. All right, 4 points for the Valkyries. So Valkyries up by 18 at the moment with 11 minutes to go in regulation. That is Evil Twin for the Valkyries.
Twin coming around, making that initial contact with the back wall of Draggers.
And
Strange is actually coming around lead, though, successful at getting lead. Twin taking that friendly shoulder in turn 2. Valkyries currently in points protect, looking to have a wall form on Strange. Still looking to get that wall going to slow in the front. Blair Bitch working actively to try to get away.
Strange calling it off there with Evil Twin coming in with a full head of steam. Watching.
Oop, Gus, heard a failure. So again, remember, when you're hearing those split pack calls, if you're close enough to the track to hear that, what the regulators are calling for is the proximity of the skaters from each team to get closer together. Proximity is 5 feet in bank track roller derby, and that's what the regulators are using to determine the length of track where the skate action can actually happen, called the engagement zone.
So that wound up being a full 5 points for the Coffin Draggers. A lot of discussion. Regulators get it all hammered in without a timeout. Olive You Die gets knocked off the track. Remy Ruckus hit Olive so hard, knocked the star out of Olive's hand. That's a heck of a block by a defensive specialist.
Yeah, we have Nikki and Remy working in a power couple against Stitches in the back, able to squeak out in turn 2.
And now
Muerta actively working against, there's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening. Muerta has the star on. Muerta had the star. I was just about to say the star would just sprung off, like we were saying. Was barely on and hit the ground and the star popped off. Has to get it back on now. All sorts of wonderful action going on. Stitches is at the front of the pack and is
Olive
the jammer. Is the jammer.
Muerta just right there at the end of right in turn 1, able to neutralize her to the infield. Stitches coming around, actively scoring.
Muerta's going to get blocked again down to the inside and is now effectively goaded at the back of the pack. Stitches coming by and the clock expires. Muerta was aware of that, watching it there on the scoreboard. Wow.
I think we also have a little bit of visor problems happening with the panty too. It's a little bit difficult sometimes to get that edge of the panty over your visor.
And like I said,
and then they are
visor
springing right off the top of the helmet.
And the smooth helmet and the fact that it's very springy. Meanwhile, that was 1 point after all that for the Draggers. That was absolutely crazy. We had both jammers drop their stars and somehow didn't get an illegal procedure penalty. I'm blown away by that.
Yeah, they got lucky. Where the panties dropped, for sure.
There are so many things that you can do by stop, turn around, trying to pick the star up.
Tifa coming out. I think that's it. Maybe the first star pass that she has received, coming around lead jam for the Draggers. Twin beats that last blocker butt cheeks right there on the top of the second straightaway, coming around, tried to put some pressure on Tifa. Mary tries to hit Tifa to the rail, is successful. See if all of that happened within the engagement zone.
Yeah, Tifa
5 points signaled in.
We've got all sorts of discussion. We originally had a signal for double jammer down, and now it's a power jam for the Coffin Draggers after a 4-point regular jam. Coffin Draggers down by 8. There was much discussion there. 4 points for the Coffin Draggers after discussion. Dolly Spartan for the Draggers, another power jam opportunity. This time they're able to get the goat at the back of the pack, front of the pack out of play. Nikki, though, able to break it and get forward.
Yeah, Nikki did a great job at running that power jam up. That power defensive wall of the Draggers to the front. Some hard hitting by Remy Ruckus to neutralize Dolly to the infield, at least temporarily. Dolly able to stretch the power couple of Hurricane May and Remy to the edge of the engagement zone, coming around actively scoring. Nikki still in the back. Goaded back there. Yeah, a little last-ditch effort there. A little first line of defense by Nikki Badass in the back. It's turning into a really successful and overpowered power jam from the Draggers so far.
Absolutely. 8 seconds left as Dolly Spartan coming around. Nikki's at the back of the pack and tied up. At the front of the pack, trying to keep Dolly blocked in, ridden off the track by Hurricane May, and we'll find out the score. The Coffin Draggers are going to take the lead, though. We'll find out. They definitely had at least 8 points out of that. Checking the score. "15-point power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Draggers in front by 7.
So when we're talking about momentum swings, that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about 10 points or more on a power jam, that's what we're talking about. You are trying to use that opportunity of your opponent having a 60-second period of no scoring possible to run the score up and swing the momentum in your favor, if at all possible. Looks like everybody's ready to start. We have Hurricane May on the jammer line for DV, and all of you dive up. Some personnel changes, an additional blocker added right there at the last minute. Pee Wee Vermin comes up to the blocker box. Nikki Badass successful, at least temporarily, neutralizing all of you die. Working against Autumn and Sick, and Olive is out as well. May coming around knowing that this might be her only opportunity to score in this jam.
Weaving around, trying to find an opening. Now just dealing with the pivot and is able to get out. Calls it off frantically. All of you die holding up the one finger. We'll find out from the infield. Every jammer always holds up the one finger.
For sure. If you were thinking about visiting our merch booth and getting a refill on your souvenir cup, it is last call for refills on your souvenir cup at the merch booth. Last call for souvenir cups.
All right, skaters coming down. We didn't have a chance. It'll be an official timeout to talk over some of that. Checking everybody down in the infield as well. So, another stoppage in play. 64-61, Draggers in front. Valkyries put 4 points on the board during that jam. Olive did not get the 1 point on the pursuit.
I feel like the crowd is so excited they're not saying anything. Everyone's just like, what's going to happen? Everyone's like grabbing onto something. We're the only ones talking, Clifton, in the whole building. Again, as we approach about 5 minutes left in this bout, we're looking at a 3-point differential currently. Right. 61 points for DV to the Coffin Dragger 64. Looks like the regulators are getting ready. You hear that sharp rolling whistle to start the jams after any stoppage in play. Twin on the jammer line for DV and Strange on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers.
5:20 to go in regulation.
Looks like a full pack for Coffin Draggers and 1 player deficit currently.
So Strange was waiting along the inside and basically looking for Evil Twin with the intention of playing jammer defense, and now Strange is out for the Coffin Draggers.
Nikki neutralizing Strange to the infield, also accidentally neutralized Twin. So a little jammer versus jammer executed by Nikki there. So Strange came in, actively scoring. Strange comes out, full scoring pass. DV jammer still in. Twin is working against Rickety Bones last line, able to stay on her feet. Needs to get the panty back on.
Strange trying to finish that second scoring pass and calls it off, getting by Kansas City. So checking the score from the infield for the Coffin Draggers there. That's going to be another productive jam.
Strange was taking no prisoners on that jam, coming around full heads of steam, very little slowing down at all.
And this is also going to be a power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Well, let's see. Now we got a timeout. So
I feel like
let's find out what's going to happen.
Double jammer. We'll see.
We will find out. It's going to be an official timeout. Al's peanut gallery opinion is that we may have a double jammer down, so we'll find out once the scoreboard comes up, whiteboard comes up here. Goodness me,
I know.
stammering over words. This is crazy.
It's because we're so excited.
9 points for the Coffin Draggers there. 73-61. Draggers have their biggest lead at a good time to have it. It is a double jammer down. Everybody's making the signal. Make the jammer call-off signal when the regulators do that. So neither side has a power jam. Means both jammers got penalties, and then instead each team sits a blocker. So both teams do have their jammer here. That would have been huge if the Coffin Draggers had been able to get a power jam at this point in the game.
So those jammers will sit in the penalty box without their stars on, just to signify that a jammer is that a ghost point is still available to everybody that's about to be playing. So we're going to see 3 blockers from each team and 1 jammer from each team, unless any other penalties are also assessed. Looks like plans are being made. Record keeping is being done. I see pencils happening.
More discussion. Official timeout continues. I hear a penalty on Remy.
It does appear that the Valkyries have been assessed at least 1 more penalty. Remy just joined Twin in the penalty box there. And again, just making sure that all the paperwork is in order before we start the jam. So we're going to get another rolling whistle to bring these blockers back up. We're absolutely in game management time, so we're going to see different maybe strategies than we normally would at the beginning of a game.
I got 2 helmets off on the Valkyries bench, and I'm going to say that means that, let's see, Cherry Kiss has fouled out, Evil Twin has fouled out, Remy Ruckus has now fouled out. I see another helmet off down there. Is that Mimi Mahler?
Yes.
Mimi Mahler has also fouled out. The Valkyries are fighting serious attrition here late in the game.
Okay, so lots of space in that blocker box.
Lots of space.
Lots of space in that blocker box.
Minimum pack for a non-power jam.
This will be interesting. I'm interested in the strategies that both teams called for.
Yeah,
Hurricane May for the Valkyries, currently not in leading position. They want to make sure that they get lead, but they might want to call the jam early to get another lineup up there. They're going to go ahead and actively score. Not a bad plan, so especially if Olive can be neutralized. Olive is now out, so again, this is going to be May's 1 shot to make sure. Goes ahead and jumps. Calls the jam.
May sliding in after the coping jump and calls it off. So Valkyries put 4 points on the board. The Coffin Draggers lead is 8. There will be about 3:15 to go in regulation when this jam starts. Dolly Spartan on the jammer line for the Coffin Draggers. And that is going to be, we're waiting to see, regulators still talking.
Again, you lose your opportunity to make sure that your documentation and your record keeping is in order if you blow the jam. So it looks like Zero's going to call an OTO.
Another official timeout to make sure we've got everything going properly here. So definitely want to make sure we've got everything done right. Another 4 points, as I said, for the Valkyries. So it is 73-65. There's 3:18 to go in regulation. Once again, this is for the last spot in the championship bout. The Runaway Brides are waiting at 4-0 in the title bout. Next month, Saturday, May the 3rd, is your title bout.
Should I pull another ticket?
Yeah, let's go ahead. We tried to give away that gift card, so let's give away another one to Siphon Draw. So get those Siphon Draw raffle tickets ready. Let's read this off real quick.
586843. 586843. So somebody may be right on the end of their roll because these are only 2 ticket numbers apart from each other. 586843, you are the current winner of the Siphon Draw Apothecary gift $50 skincare bag.
And it's going to be a power jam for the Coffin Draggers with 3:18 to go in regulation. Penalty assessed. Hurricane May in the penalty box. Big cheer going up from the crowd
cheers
for
of
Dolly
Dolly.
Spartan. Yes.
Dolly coming up from the crowd. So we want Dolly to score at least 10 points or more on this power jam, because that's what a successful power jam is. DV wants to get into points protect, get into a defensive structure that can ideally stop Dolly from scoring points. So we want to see a orange wall come together. Mary and Sid have almost escaped to the front. Slim is working against Tifa in the back there. Mary's being actively offensed upon as well. Dolly comes through with very little to no resistance on additional scoring pass. Slim and Mary have gum up to the front. M has obviously been tasked in making sure that that 2-wall doesn't form. So again, we want orange walls and black defense or black offense being played. A nice last-ditch effort by Mary, but unsuccessful in stopping Dolly from slowing down. Coming around with 7 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2.
And that's going to be a huge amount of points for the Coffin Draggers here late in the game. There's going to be about 150 to go in regulation when this next jam starts. Coffin Draggers really trying to put this thing out of reach. 19-point power jam for the Coffin Draggers. Really builds their lead up here in the late going. 27 points.
Wow, that was a really big swing. Fantastic.
Really huge.
19 points for the
Draggers
Coffin
have taken the lead
there.
and have really not looked back since they took the lead about 5-6 minutes of game time ago. Evil Twin on the jammer line for the Doomsday Valkyries.
Again, a little bit of shifting around in pack players there. We have Embezzlement and All of You Die still up there for the Draggers. So a teeny tiny pack. Oh, nope, and nope, and what? Okay. Okay. Draggers have decided that it's going to be Embezzlement and Pee Wee Vermin up there for them. We got Nikki, we got Hurricane May, and we got Remy in the blocker box for DV.
Evil Twin is going to get to the front first, runs into a couple of Draggers blockers. Strange is going to find an opening along the outside, now runs into a couple of Valkyries blockers. Trying to fight clear, and Strange fights through the pack. Lead jam for the Coffin Draggers. Super important here in the late going. Evil Twin is going to get past Pee Wee Vermin, and it gets out to try to keep this to one scoring attempt for Strange.
Twin coming around, not lead. Remember, still trying to put any pressure that she can possibly put on Strange. Orange in points protect, actively working. Pack is split. M coming around, play a little bit of offense.
Strange gets back up on the track to call
DV
it
did
off.
a fantastic job getting into points protect on that jam.
Under a minute to go in regulation. And it is going to be All of You Die. At the jammer line for the Draggers, Hurricane May. Once again for the Valkyries. Is going to be, if this jam starts without an official timeout, we're going to have about 35 seconds, maybe 30 seconds in regulation. Looks like we're going to get ready to go. So the Draggers are going to try to get lead jam. It'll be an official timeout before we get to that. So, OTO. Making sure we've got everything all set before this last jam. And yeah, let's go ahead and read these prizes off, why don't we? Yeah. So, go ahead, Al, take it away. Our winners for the 2 silent auction items.
Yes, the winner for the 2 silent auction items is the same person, Trisha Rose. You are the winner of both the Tucci's Touch 60-minute massage and the $400 gift certificate from Lost Dutchman Tattoo.
That's
we
right.
up here at the announcer booth have those certificates for you.
We do.
So, Trisha, if you are still with us in the building, come see us tonight. Oh! Trisha. Yeah,
right.
So coming up and getting your prizes. Thank you very much for participating in our silent auction.
Back up to the track they go. Hurricane May, All of You Die, has not changed. 36 seconds to go in regulation. The Coffin Draggers trying to close the door.
Thank you very much. Those are them. Oh, that is a really good question.
Yeah, over at the awards table. Awards table over in the corner, yeah. All right, so this jam is underway. We're helping this person claim their prizes. Hurricane May is stuck in the pack. All of You Die. Everybody just kind of glommed together. Coffin Draggers trying to skate penalty-free, clearly, and not surrender any penalty jams.
10 seconds left. 9. Countdown here for the Draggers and the DV.
Nobody can call it off if nobody's out.
Correct.
So this jam
the
would
jam
go
will
the
come
full
to its
60,
natural conclusion
and that's
if
probably,
it continues this way.
as it would appear, is going to happen because the Coffin Draggers are endeavoring to not touch anybody.
Yeah, when you're leading, you definitely want to skate as clean as possible. You don't want to encourage penalty jams if you can avoid them. 6 seconds left in this last playoff game.
There it goes. That is going to be the end of the regulation jam. Little cheer from the Coffin Draggers to the Bombshells. And let's find out if there were any penalties assessed and if there will be any penalty jams. No points for either side. Coffin Draggers really put the pedal to the metal here late and put this thing out of reach once the Valkyries started having some penalty problems. Remy Ruckus did not foul out. I was incorrect about that. But we did still lose a few other skaters on the Doomsday Valkyries. Regulators still talking about it, so waiting to find out. Now here comes Mama Seidel with the whistle in mouth. That is probably going to do it, and that does do it with that final whistle. Your final score, 95-65 in a defensive slugfest. Your winner is the Coffin Draggers, and the Coffin Draggers will go up against the Runaway Brides for the title on Saturday, May 3rd. First 1 to 50 wins, right, Al?
What a fantastic playoff.
That is going to be a defensive showpiece. Congratulations to the Coffin Draggers on winning twice tonight to advance to the title bout.
This is the first trip to the championship for the Draggers in quite a while.
Quite a while. Absolutely quite a while. We'll have to track on that before the next bout starts. And now, coming on around will be the Doomsday Valkyries. And the Doomsday Valkyries put the finishing touches on their best season to date. They end the season with a winning record for the first time ever, even counting this playoff loss at 3-2. So the Valkyries, one last time for the Valkyries fans in the building, Valhalla calls! And the Valkyries will come back and try to build on this next season. So that's going to do it. That is going to do it. We're going to step aside. Thank you so much, Al Annihilation, for announcing 3 fantastic playoff bouts with me this evening. As good as advertised, and we ended right on time, 8:34. Look at that. What do you know about that? We know how to run a program, don't we? Fantastic. Thank you so much, fans. If you've had too many souvenir cups to drink, don't drive home. I don't have Freya. I have a front seat. I can drive you home. We'll figure out your car tomorrow. Don't ever do it.
Drive safely, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out to this season's playoffs. We hope to see everybody back in about 3 weeks for champs.
That's right.
Coffin Draggers versus the Runaway Brides.
We'll see you then Saturday, May 3rd. Good night.